Today, it's a full-blown war that's not just redrawing the map of the Middle East, but pulling the world's major powers into a confrontation that, frankly, none of them wanted.
First, the hard numbers. The casualty count inside Iran has now officially passed 1,000. Iran's Red Crescent is confirming 1,045 dead. That makes this one of the deadliest military campaigns in the region in decades.
And the air campaign isn't slowing down at all. Israel has now completed its 10th coordinated strike wave. We're seeing reports of explosions across Tehran, but also in Karaj and Isfahan. This isn't just on the outskirts anymore. Structural damage is being confirmed right in the center of the capital.
At the same time, the conflict is expanding way beyond the Persian Gulf. We have confirmation that a U.S. Navy submarine has intercepted and sunk the Iranian frigate Iris Dina. And get this, it happened in the Indian Ocean, about 40 nautical miles south of Sri Lanka. The signal couldn't be clearer. Iran's surface navy is being systematically taken off the board no matter where it is.
Now this might be the single most dangerous development in the last 24 hours. Russia's foreign ministry has issued a formal warning that the Bushehr nuclear power plant is now endangered. Explosions have been confirmed just kilometers from its perimeter. Let's be really clear here. A strike on an active nuclear facility, whether it's accidental or on purpose, doesn't just cross a red line. It ignites a catastrophe with no playbook and no clean exit.
And finally, we now have direct NATO involvement. Turkey has confirmed that NATO missile defense systems in the Eastern Mediterranean took out a ballistic missile fired from Iran. So this is it, the first time NATO hardware has kinetically engaged an Iranian projectile. This is a fundamental structural escalation of this war.
Okay, so let's pivot from the battlefield to the economic front, because Iran has just unleashed its most powerful weapon, and it's not a missile. It's the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. That 21-mile-wide choke point, it's basically the aorta of the global economy. And this is the weapon that reaches directly into every American home.
And the immediate fallout has a name: stagflation. The Federal Reserve is now formally acknowledging this risk. And it's pretty simple, really. You've got rising energy prices pushing inflation higher, which forces the Fed to think about keeping interest rates up. But at the exact same time, all this disruption is slamming the brakes on the economy. High inflation, low growth, it's the worst of both worlds. A toxic combination.
So, how's the White House responding? Well, President Trump stated today that the U.S. will take all necessary measures to keep energy flowing. He's ordered the Navy to prepare for escorting commercial tankers, and he's also directed a government agency to provide political risk insurance for shippers. It's a move that did calm the markets down, for a bit.
But you can't ignore the physical reality of the blockade. If you can't get insurance, your tankers don't sail. And this chart, well, it shows you exactly what happens next. The cost to hire an oil supertanker just hit an all-time record. Look at that jump, $423,000 a day. That's a 94% surge in a single day. The arteries of global trade are seizing up.
And here's how that hits you. Commodity analysts are now projecting that if crude oil stays this high, the national average for a gallon of gas will hit somewhere around $4.60, and that's within just 2 weeks. If this goes on any longer, we're looking at over $5 a gallon.
It's not just going to stop at the pump either. The link between oil and the food on your table is direct. Diesel fuels the trucks, the trains, everything that gets groceries to the supermarket. A sustained price hike in diesel means you're looking at about a 5% increase in food distribution costs in less than 2 months. That's not some abstract number. That's a real hit to household budgets.
And yeah, your retirement fund is already feeling this. The S&P 500 dropped 4.2% in the first 48 hours of this thing before it clawed some of that back. Sure, defense and energy stocks are up, but the overall market is rattled. The bottom line is, if you have a 401k, you are already watching this war play out on your statement.
So let's zoom out for a second, because this blockade, it's not just an economic shock, it's a geopolitical event. It is actively rewriting the global energy map, and in the process, it's creating a very quiet, very unintended winner in all this chaos.
So ask yourself, who actually profits when 20% of the world's daily oil supply is suddenly taken offline? The answer really lies in what this forces Asia's biggest energy consumers to do next.
And here's how it works. It's a very simple, brutal chain of events. 1. Hormuz is closed. 2. Marine insurance gets suspended, which means tankers physically can't move through the area.
3. China and India lose access to their main suppliers, Saudi Arabia and the UAE. So 4. They are forced into an immediate pivot to the only other game in town at that scale, Russian crude. And 5. Russia profits directly. They didn't start this war, but their entire energy strategy benefits from exactly this kind of crisis.
And you can see just how exposed these powers are. China gets over a fifth of its oil from the Gulf. India is in an even tougher spot, with very limited strategic reserves. For both of them, this isn't really a choice. They have to accelerate their turn toward Moscow for energy, and that's a huge geopolitical shift with major consequences for U.S. strategy down the road.
So, where do we go from here? Let's get to the final section and look at the most likely paths forward. And this isn't just guesswork. It's a structured assessment of the 3 most probable trajectories over the next critical 72 hours. But before we look forward, you have to understand the reality right now. The US and Israel did achieve some of their goals. They degraded nuclear sites, missile facilities. But they made a massive strategic miscalculation. They believed that taking out the political leadership would neutralize Iran's military. It didn't. The IRGC operates on its own track, and it is escalated.
This leaves us with 3 probable futures. The most likely, with a 65% probability, is Scenario 1, sustained degradation. This is a long, grinding conflict. The airstrikes continue, Iran hits back asymmetrically, oil stays above $90 a barrel, and the world economy slips into stagflation. That's our base case. Scenario 2, at 25%, is a back-channel ceasefire, probably brokered through Oman. The channels for talks still exist, but that window is closing fast. And then there's Scenario 3, at 10%, regional catastrophe. The Bushehr plant gets hit, all bets are off, and it forces some kind of global intervention. It's a low probability, but after today's warning from Russia, it's no longer 0.
So the crucial point is this: what's been started is no longer a contained operation. It's a war, and its consequences are going to ripple through markets, alliances, and the global balance of power for years. And the decisions that are made in the next 72 hours could very well define which of these futures becomes our reality.